It's the second day of Eid al-Kabir celebrations, and dignitaries are still paying homage to President Muhammadu Buhari at his hometown in Daura. Some of the dignitaries at the president's home today include the governor of Ogun State, Ibikunle Amosun, and his counterpart from Plateau State, Simon Lalong. Others are former governor of Abia, Orji Kalu, and the Minister of Water Resources, Adamu Kazaure. Our correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
APC governors and other dignitaries arrived at the president's country home in Daura, Katsina State, to pay the traditional Sallah homage.
Thank you very much.
President Buhari received the governors of Ogun State and that of Plateau, among others. The leaders were on a visit to celebrate the Eid al-Kabir with the president, who returned to the country on the 18th of August from the UK, urged Nigerians to pursue peace and eschew violence, especially ahead of the upcoming elections.
I think this point in time is that we should all come together in unity. We should avoid violence, we should avoid politics of division on the basis of religion or ethnicity. Nigeria is one, and we cooperate, especially as we go towards the next election, to prepare for a very peaceful election.
While the Plateau governor commends the president's efforts to curb insecurity, his counterpart says Nigeria has recorded a number of achievements so far since 2015.
I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. You know where we are coming from. When you situate Nigeria where we are now, and you compare it with the starting point for this administration, clearly you may disagree on so many other things, but you will agree that Mr. President particularly and the administration, they are working their talk.
People should have hope. People should be fighting very hard. People should bring ethnicity and religion, and people should be able to know that this is our country. We have no other country than this country.
Thank you very much for coming.
The president is expected to receive more governors from the ruling party in the coming days before his return to Abuja on Saturday, August 25. From Daura, Katsina State, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
To politics now, the Imo State Independent Electoral Commission will conduct elections into all 27 local government areas on the state on Saturday, August the 25th. 27 council chairmen and about 645 councillors will be elected in line with the policy of the state government, which allows every autonomous community to elect a councillor, with the state now having about 654 autonomous communities. That's 645, I beg your pardon. Governor Rocha Sokoracha also believes that the government should be taken to the people at the grassroots, and that explains why he initiated the Community Government Council. The state government is, however, asking eligible voters to work towards the peaceful conduct of the polls. The Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has given members of the People's Democratic Party in Kwara State the assurance that both old and returning members will have equal stake in the party. The Senate President gave the assurance while addressing party faithful across the state at the Government House Banquet Hall in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. He also says he has no anointed aspirants and warned against using his name to cause disunity in the party.
We are here to unite all of us under the party that we all belong to today. That there will be equity, there will be internal democracy, there will be justice. We will ensure that we work as one party, because we have always worked together before. We work hard together. We see that in all the ward and local governments that we ensure that popular candidates emerge, and candidates emerge based on their popularity. We ensure that there is no faction, there will be one PDP. We will ensure meetings in the ward and local government in one venue, and we all work together for the interests of the party. I want to assure you all, as far as I am concerned individually, everybody is all part of one family, our family, and there is no favoritism over one over the other. Please go back home, let us start the work. And I'm sure many more will come back and join us, because those that left under the wrong assumption. They were misled to think that it will be different from this. That those coming are coming to move you away. Nobody is moving you away, because this place belongs to you too.
Another election cycle is here, and believe it or not, it's come with the sort of drama that we often see at this kind of season. This time, the drama is what casts some element of doubt on the successes of the conduct of the exercise due to issues of funding for the 2019 elections. In our next report, our political correspondent Seun Okinbaloye highlights some of the issues and controversies surrounding the budget for the 2019 elections.
177 days before the 2019 elections, and the clock is ticking. The race has begun already, considering the schedule by the umpire, but the electoral body has not gotten the money to run the polls. In July, President Buhari wrote a letter to the two chambers of the parliament requesting a speedy approval of a supplementary budget of 242.45 billion expenses for the polls.
To ensure that adequate arrangements are made for free and fair elections.
But days after the letter was read, the issues of party politics prevailed and the National Assembly went on recess. Aside the debate over the timing of the elections budget, another area of contention, President asking the National Assembly to make availment of the total sum of 578.31 billion naira the lawmakers inserted into the 2018 budget as constituency projects. Beyond legislative matters, the lawmakers are divided across party lines. The defections further polarize the National Assembly, and the politics of reconvening the Assembly is intense as suspicion grows amongst the lawmakers. As the battle for supremacy continues, time is running out. The election budget is stuck in the gridlock of politics. The lawmakers are consulting with the electoral umpire, but it appears the series of meetings in the past days may not be over yet.
Voter registration to the end of this month.
That document of the schedule is not for us. It is for the appropriation committee. Our concern, as we have earlier said, is the INEC budget. And we can tell Mr. President that we want the entire amount of money to be sourced from the 2018 budget.
The stakes are high as the day draws closer. The Commission and other agencies of government may be forced to look for other sources of funding to take care of its procurement, which must start months before the election day, or risk the possibility of shoddy preparation ahead of the crucial election year. Seun Okinbaloye, Channels Television News.
Assembly and the executive.
Now, to get another perspective on all this, I'm now being joined on the News at 10 by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Professor Ishe Sage. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
Now, the crux of the matter, as some will say, is the source of funding for this budget. Now, what's your view about where the money is supposed to come from? Let's start from there.
Well, under the Constitution, of course, the National Assembly is empowered to approve funds for the running of the country, including elections.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. If you want me to continue.
Yes, carry on, please.
All right. Now, they have the power to provide funds for elections. But we must remember that the whole of this country since 1999 has been built on democracy. If you like, you can say democracy is a superior overriding norm that governs the very existence of this country. The Constitution itself is subordinate to democracy because if you look at the Constitution very closely, every chapter in it is built to sustain democracy. So democracy is the ulterior objective of this Constitution. Now, the National Assembly has a part to play in the whole system, a relatively small part because the whole is very large. And
okay, so but just because we're pressed for time, if you could tell us what that role is, looking at what we're going through right now.
That's what I've just stated.
Yeah.
Their role is to pass. One of their roles is to make money available by passing bills for funding various activities, including elections. Now, elections constitute the threshold into democracy. Without elections, there can be no democracy. And since democracy is overriding, what I would call jus cogens of our system, imperative, peremptory, overriding. If any group of persons who have a role to play to make it survive refuse to do so, then they are trying to scuttle democracy, and therefore, in order to save democracy, the principle of necessity will be triggered, and the Constitution itself will provide, through that trigger, a method of funding the election, which will render the National Assembly in that regard irrelevant. And I will call that self-inflicted irrelevance.
Okay, but when you talk about the National Assembly that way, for those who blame the National Assembly, as you seem to be doing, when you look at the fact that the 2019 elections did not take the executive by surprise, or anyone else by surprise for that matter, what about the argument that it could have been factored into Budget 2018 rather than putting pressure on the National Assembly to resume immediately if they were going off for their holiday?
What is a holiday compared to the survival of Nigeria? That's irrelevant. Why should they are in their homes or wherever they are, plotting, enjoying our funds and resources, and refusing to come and carry out a fundamental duty that they owe? In fact, they are destroying the relevance of the National Assembly. I assure you, elections will be held whether the National Assembly likes it or not, because we are dealing with a very, very imperative principle.
All right, thanks so very much, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Professor Ishe Sage, for joining us on the News at 10 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
In part two, after the break, reactions continue to trail the demolition of Fresh FM building in Ibadan by the Oyo State government. Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria condemns the action. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.